We're gonna drop it like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Clicked it. Oh, I need to check something because it recorded to a different folder for no reason. I couldn't find the episode. I thought something had happened to it, but okay, let's go into the right location. That's fine.
Okay.
So yeah, I've been modeling my donut. I'm just gonna save that and close it as well. Right. I think I'm good now.
Right.
Yeah.
Should we do it then?
No, that'll be in view now. No, we'll leave it there. So I'm just microphone's gonna have to be a bit low, but that's all there is to it.
What's going to be a bit low?
My microphone is like
That's probably all right.
yeah.
He sounds fine.
Yeah. Right. Okay. You can do a bit.
Should we do it?
Yeah.
Okay. Hello, everyone. It's been a week in which Roman Abramovich had to move his yacht. John Cleese said Britain should receive slavery reparations. And socialist whistleblowers became the new Silicon Valley tech bros, at least from Grimes's point of view. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone, and welcome to the Lager and Ideology podcast. Ruben, you are carrying the torch for St. Patrick's Day with your drinks.
Yeah, because St. Patrick's Day is it tomorrow? Is it? When
Is it? I thought it was. Is it not today? No.
I don't know. I didn't think it was today. No, it's Thursday.
Oh well, it's
Thursday.
not even.
No, but
it?
it's the week of it, and this episode will come out on Monday. So
You think some people have a St. Patrick's week? Like some people have a birthday week.
No, they do. They actually, because I follow the It's Always Sunny podcast, and they have got an episode, and they actually said in their tweet for it or message on Instagram, or whatever, Happy St. Paddy's Week. So they referred to it as St. Patrick's Week.
And I suppose there's something to be said for that because it's a week of Guinness. It's a good excuse. I actually thought about getting Guinness, and I did have Guinness on a previous podcast, but I have had these beers sitting because we didn't have an episode last week. Sorry for people who wanted one.
Yeah. Well, we did. We had an episode last week. We didn't have an episode the week.
Oh, the week before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't record.
But we haven't recorded for 2 weeks, which means I've had these sitting in my fridge, and I'm surprised they lasted actually. But I've been trying to be healthier, so I've not drunk them. And they're Nigerian. They're called Star, and they literally the bottles are like. I saw these in Sainsbury's in that World Food section. There were 4 there, only 4.
Love that.
And they're like, the bottles have been like recycled and used loads of times. They're really like dirty and all scuffed. And they've obviously traveled from Nigeria. I've never heard of this beer before, but the tagline I love is "Shine, Shine, Bobo." And I don't know what that means, but I'm keen.
I know a guy that might be able to help me on that one. I'll ask him. What the
but
fuck
I really liked it. I mean, I don't know if we talked about this before, I think, but when I was growing up, I lived for a bit in Zimbabwe. I think I was probably too young for actual beer, but even I was. I wouldn't have been drinking it, but nevertheless, the bottles. I must have seen them around my mum and her partner drinking them and stuff. But when I saw the bottle and the logo and stuff in the shop, it seemed to like really sort of have nostalgic childhood vibes for me, even though I haven't drunk the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to go for it. I've been looking forward to it. I've just had a sip and it's pretty good.
Well, my Guinness is unfortunately in the wrong glass, and it's in a small. Oh, fuck off! Come on, show it. Kronenberg, an old Kronenberg glass. It's struggling to be shown.
They are.
Yeah.
Put it in front of your face. Yeah, that is a cool glass.
It's a nice little glass. Yeah, I kind of like made in France. Obviously.
It also reminds me of. I was going to say the glass also reminds me of like family holidays in France. We used to like drive for hours and hours and hours from London to go camping in France, and they'd get it was absolutely shite. I'm never going camping again.
Camping's fucking awful.
I'm not going to go camping. I mean, maybe if my daughter really wants to, but no, I totally agree. It's nonsense.
No,
and I think
you pack her off on a fucking put her in the Cubs or the Scouts, and she can fuck off on it on her own. All right, and you can show up.
Be a bit risky,
you can show up on the last day and just be like a helper parent, right? And then...
Yeah, no, I think I actually believe that people who claim they enjoy camping are part of a sort of international conspiracy. Because I don't believe it's possible.
People who enjoy camping aren't real, etc.
Yeah, they aren't. They aren't. No. Okay, anyway, we've got to move on to the real topics, mate, because this is a serious podcast. Not.
This is my first bit of Guinness since leaving England. in probably 7 or 8 months ago. Probably even longer. It's possibly
That's
been a year
interesting.
since my last Guinness. Yeah,
That's good. And how is it?
it's okay. Tin
You've
Guinness.
not missed it massively.
Well, no, I really like Guinness, but just tin Guinness is never quite. It's
I don't know. Yeah, it's true. I think Guinness from a pub
the
is.
vibes. It's the vibes.
I'm going to Dublin in May, and I don't think I've had a Guinness in Dublin. So I've heard rumours that you can't compare it. It's that bit better. I'll be trying one.
No, you should. You'll have to report back.
Oh well, mate. Listeners can just keep listening for 3 months and find that out.
Anyway,
that's a good reason to stick with us.
And the other thing is, the reason that we missed an episode was just that I was moving, so I've now moved
house.
Yeah, so I was too busy to edit the episode, and I was going to be too busy to record on the next Monday. So I was like, just
all right, mate. Perfectly understandable. You've made a strange decision though, because you've moved in with quite a threatening looking bloke who looks like he's about to blow your head off.
Humongous as well. And he
so
just stays there.
Your other place seems a little bit more peaceful than that.
So, anyway, the first subject is not on our document, is it? It's on WhatsApp.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, no, I've done the document, mate.
Oh no, okay.
That's the sort of professional. What do you call that? Input that you get.
Yeah.
From the likes of me.
Sorry, I'm looking ridiculous.
You're gonna.
Yep.
Give your IRS there, mate. Okay. The first thing I thought we would talk about is the more serious topic, but the way in which it's kind of impacted in British culture, I suppose. Obviously, with all the Russia-Ukraine stuff that we talked about in the last episode, but specifically like Roman Abramovich, the Chelsea owner. So, like, we've talked a lot about sport and football before, the politics of all that. I think that's something we can talk about with more authority than the bigger crisis, war, whatever it is, worse than that. But it is interesting how this has played out, and I'm pretty interested in it because I learned quite a lot about Abramovich, and basically through that, I learned how Russian oligarchs made their money and stuff like that, which I didn't really know about, which I could say something about that in a minute, which is kind of interesting. And also, it's been in the news and stuff because, like, Chelsea fans have been there's lots of different aspects to this. One thing is that Chelsea fans have been like chanting Abramovich's name at matches and stuff, which is obviously quite strange, given that he represents, like, from the official line is that he's basically one of Putin's cronies who has helped prop up that regime, and then he's been sanctioned by the British government. So you can see a strange kind of tribalism happening with Chelsea fans, like really, really passionately supporting someone, putting that first, I suppose, over a massive, the impact of that on a huge population. But on the other hand, like a little bit less critical of that is that these sanctions, as some of the football manager of Chelsea, Thomas Tuchel, and some other managers made interesting comments about this as well. Like the sanctions, they are the sanctions on Chelsea. They are like likely to impact the most working class members of the club and stuff. We kind of talked about this before as well, like the Russian working class getting hit by this as well. But like, the football manager, the manager was asked about it and basically said, well, we're kind of privileged. We've got loads of money, but the hundreds of people that work in the club, this is their sort of daily income. And they are worried about that.
They never matter, do they, when it's about some sort of, we're all going to make a grand statement, we're all in this together. I saw like a meme, I think I cited maybe a few weeks ago about like every capitalist cycle. It always ends in it collapsing and the collectivization of losses, that we've all got to just take the hit together for the greater good. And it's like, no, because everyone else is fine. Everyone up there is fine. We're fucked. Everyone up there, fine. Everyone who made those decisions, fine. But we're all fucked.
Yeah, but this is exactly the thing. So I guess that's what I'm trying to say is, because pretty much this was welcomed with open arms because it looks superficially like it's the British government hitting the Russian elites, which is what we want, right? The sanctions are imposed against Putin's mates and the wealthy Russians and their businesses but if you like scratch the surface of that and look at the impacts, it's, Abramovich, as I said in the intro, I read today a whole article that Abramovich has had to move his yacht and his plane because it wasn't allowed to sort of stay on the current airstrip, the private airstrip in London that it was on. So the inconvenience of this to Abramovich is he had to get his fucking yacht moved. But other people who work in canteens or whatever at Chelsea are worried about whether they're going to be paid next month. So, it looks like it's Abramovich being sanctioned, but is it actually, once again, just the poorest people?
Is your microphone a bit close to you by any chance? A bit closer than usual.
I think I was just leaning a bit near it.
Yeah, just because you were peaking. Now? Yeah, you were peaking quite a bit. So it's fine now. I'm not going to cut that bit out. It happens in podcasts. I'm not dealing with that.
Yeah. No, that's fine. All right. Well, I'll put it a bit further away. I think you might be right. That I think the fans probably shouldn't be chanting his name, but
yeah, possibly not.
But I kind of get the frustration there. That, like, I suppose it is all of it is bad, isn't it? I mean, the chanting of his name, it kind of shows that he's come to London, like, I don't know, 19 years ago, whatever. He brought millions of billions of pounds, and they've become a successful football club through that. And so, people are more concerned about that success. They'd rather win the FA Cup but have the Russian money, right? And this is the same as what's happened with Newcastle United, who were just recently bought out by these Saudis, and basically, it is a little bit hypocritical for the football club to be punished this one, just because, Russia. I mean, look, Saudi Arabia have got like loads of atrocities, and there's lots of reasons. Lots of reasons why Newcastle's takeover of Saudi Arabia should have been blocked. And there's also lots of lesser, maybe lesser, but still, extremely questionable people in, football investment and in sport investment, which we completely allow. Mm-hmm. So, like, you can't, now that there's a war, you can't just say, the Russian ones, let's punish that one.
They're the bad. They're the bad ones.
Yeah, there's a whole history of, like, London, not just sport, but London opening its doors to, nefariously gained money from various nation states, and there's death and blood on its hands, I suppose, on that money. That is dirty money, and really, if you can't suddenly say, because we all agree that this war in Ukraine is a travesty and that Russia needs to stop or be punished for it, you can't suddenly say, oh, now we've got a problem with accepting this dirty money, which is basically half of London is built on. Yeah. I think, but
I don't know. I mean,
but maybe I'm being
because it's football stuff. I'm inherently just less clued in on, and the same just for like the fans chanting and things like that. I'm not so clued in on that part, but I've definitely seen some things from inside Russia that were very sort of depressing to see, because I mean, even if like Russian sort of like stockbrokers, that's their job. They just they day trade. Yeah, capitalism bad, stock market, and those kinds of dudes a bit lame. But when they shot vodka live on, they just start drinking vodka live on a live news interview and sort of infer that they're going to go and kill themselves. That's kind of like, oh.
Yeah, right. I mean, look, this is what we did talk about in the last episode a bit, that, like, the way in which we're being encouraged to consume this is...
Oh, I actually have something. I have something that I saw, and I don't know if it's real, because whatever, it was just supposedly from a newspaper, somebody who was saying, I don't mind, this is in the US, I don't mind having to pay $10 for gas because, $5 will go and help Ukraine or something, and it's like, you don't seem to...
Oh my god, yeah.
I mean, I think that, do you?
I've seen some. I had another example of something like that. This vegan, don't know if you saw this vegan Ukraine thing. It was like somebody said, I'll start a charity for feeding the Ukrainian refugees, and they said, let's make sure we don't miss this opportunity to push veganism, because Ukraine historically eats too much meat, so we need to like use this opportunity to like force them to eat like plant-based foods.
Anyone who says something like that gets put on the front lines. So you just get put there, And you don't get given a weapon. You're just sort of like strapped in with the sandbags and stuff. You're just, and that's it.
Yeah, but I think I mean, I agree.
This is why there is no successful left-wing project.
Well, yeah. I mean,
because every time someone tries to accomplish anything, they just like self-destruct as a unit. The left wing self-destructs because it's full of fucking imbeciles.
Well, I do think that this, opens out into a massive thing, and it's clear that we're being kind of encouraged to think of this as, yeah. I mean, okay, this is the point. And I do think it's related to the left. Like the kinds of solidarity we're being told to show here are quite nationalist, are quite basic, are re-entrenching stupid ideas of the East and the West. For instance, adding a Ukraine flag to your profile and thinking about this, or what we talked about last week, right? Should Putin have had a liberal American upbringing? Like this is a very important time to show solidarity, and that solidarity should be with Russian people as well as Ukrainians, everyone that's suffering from this war and other wars. It is an important time to build solidarity, but as you say, it almost feels like every attempt to do that falls into the most stupid kinds of us versus them stuff, like the Chelsea fans chanting for Abramovich, like somebody putting the flag on, and saying it's the Western Ukraine versus, this is just not the way to approach this.
I mean, there's a lot of virtue signaling and also just very, very stupid people who, I don't know, just like the thing of paying a lot for their petrol. They think that's going to
exactly
contribute to Ukraine in some capacity. And
and it's also part of that's obviously just part of this kind of trick that is played by. I mean, that's charity for you, isn't it? And how philanthropy works, and saying, well, this capitalist product, which is already screwed and privileging a certain person over another, has got this kind of inbuilt charity, which makes it, the products. It's I mean, that's the problem with philanthropy. It's also the week of Red Nose Day over here, if you remember that.
I just don't care for charity as a I'm not anti-helping people, but I just think that charity organizations aren't to be trusted for any reason at all. I think sometimes you get like, I don't know, extremely rich people or the BBC, and well done Britain, we've done this, and it's like the British government could have done that, like alone, or like the MPs, they could have done that.
That's the point.
Really.
That's the point.
Why are we doing it?
And that's the point of that connects. That will be my point on Red Nose Day.
And then I just want to say, because someone said, well, because morals, morality. No. I didn't say that I'm against doing charitable things. So I said I'm just against charitable organizations. Doing a good thing, that feels good. Morals, good, blah, blah, blah. Maybe help your local community or some shit. Plant some fucking flowers in the town center. I don't know. But don't give money to that fucking yellow bear cunt. All right? Don't give money to him. No, that's not Red Nose Day. That's the other one.
That's well, I mean, I basically agree. That's my main feeling about philanthropy, is that it happens in societies where people aren't properly looked after. So, if your state is successfully looking after people, you don't need food banks. It's the same. There's never been a time when Red Nose Day is more necessary than it is now, because things are more fucked than it is now. And this tends to be the case. It tends to be, as people are getting more and more screwed by the state, by capitalism, by corporations, philanthropy becomes more and more necessary. Because it's really, when philanthropy rises, it's the sign of a state that doesn't look after its people properly. So I definitely think that, and also
food
connects to the Abramovich
in this country that was celebrated. I remember that was that's.
Well, Abramovich
is in England. Sorry, not this country, England.
In England, yeah. I mean, it connects to the Abramovich thing, because he has said that he'll sell Chelsea, and instead of taking the money, as it were, he'll use it to fund a charity for those that have been displaced or whatever in Ukraine.
But what that really means is that like 70% of the money will go back in a fucking circle to him, and the other 30% will be distributed to people that will hide that the 70% went back to him.
Well, it definitely, I wouldn't trust it, and nobody knows where Abramovich's money moves around, how it moves around. Nobody knows what that means when he says he hasn't called in a loan, because he's basically loaned the money to himself, because he's the owner of Chelsea. So when he says he's going to forgive the loan, it's not clear. as you say, it's basically a optics move, isn't it? It's basically saying, I'll do this philanthropy, and that sort of purifies my image in the public eye, and then I'll continue to run businesses which are based on exploitation and etc. etc. Yeah, and I took this. I didn't know anything about oligarchs. I just know that the British media have always just sort of spoken about them as this kind of weird elite group of evil. But I was reading about the history of Russia to understand what had gone on with Abramovich, and learning about how the oligarch thing basically took off in the 90s. And it's not that dissimilar to what happened here. It's basically like a bunch of people that the then president was going to lose his position. So he agreed with all these businessmen that if they supported him, he would sell them the public stuff like oil and energy on a cheaper rate. And then it all got privatized. So these oligarchs like Abramovich supported this politician, got him in power, and then bought the companies that were worth billions for millions. And that was how the privatization of energy in Russia happens. And so this is a system that my point here, not to bore people too much with the history of oligarchs, but when I was learning all this, I was like, well, that's exactly what happened in the UK. That is pretty much exactly what happens with Boris and his COVID companies. It's what happened with when Thatcher privatized stuff, and post Thatcher it all went through, like companies got in bed and bought state organizations for a lower rate and made profit off it. Like this pattern. So we think of Russian oligarchs as like evil Eastern, oil burning, demons, but actually our governing class is basically British form of that. People who bought up state-owned stuff or sold it to private companies. So, anyway, whatever. The point is, this kind of evil capitalism is
scary. Oligarch, scary word.
Exactly.
Roman Abramovich's one of his daughters went to Royal Holloway. So,
no way. I think my dad teaches at the school they went to as well. So there you go. We're all complicit. My family in particular.
Yeah. My family. What have they got? Nothing. I don't know any. Yeah.
Only shares in Gazprom. Yeah. Anyway, I thought it was interesting. We've gone over time on it anyway, but I thought it was. It is the end of it, but and I've gone on a bit on it, so hopefully it wasn't too boring. But also, I did think it was interesting, and I think I also, just as a last point, I think it's interesting how these massive global issues are flaring up in the world of football, and I'm like, football fans are, I think, getting much more politicized than ever before.
Yeah,
and that's quite interesting.
Well, they're politicized in a different way, where before it was, I don't know, football was probably used as a way to divide the working class. Now it's
exactly
stranger than that.
Yeah,
I'm not.
That's right.
Yeah. Are they still divided? I suppose they are still divided, aren't they? It's just more complex now than it was before.
I think we're about to see a change. No, I think you're onto something important there. I think you're about to see a change from, football used to be, I think people have called it the opiate of the masses, a way to make people unpolitical, a way to keep people happy with things as they are, and stop them being radicals and revolutionaries or whatever. I think that a corner's turned on that now, and you're probably going to see, I don't know, just say this, I think football will decide the next elections in the UK. I think sport is no longer encouraging people to be apolitical or not to be interested.
There are lots of footballers who are taking quite. Your favorite guy, what's his name? Fucking Rashford.
Yeah, Rashford. Yeah. You've got Matt Letizia, who's a far right activist. You've got Gary Neville saying he's going to join the Labour Party.
Matt Letizia strikes me as a fucking idiot, though. It's not, it's not that he's far right that I'm bothered by. It's just he's a fucking idiot that bothers me. That's it. I know. Well, you can be on the right. You can be on the right, bro. That's your thing. But you're a fucking idiot. That's what
Matt Letizia is a sort of.
Yeah. Is it worse to be
caricature?
Oh, no, I suppose it's always worse to be a fucking idiot and on a political standpoint, because if you're a fucking idiot, then your standpoint is going to be based on nothing.
Yeah. Although, no, I don't know. Actually, I prefer.
I don't know. It's different.
Yeah.
There are three metrics at least to measure it by. It's not
Yeah.
your political, where you are on the spectrum of the politics, where you are intellectually. There's a third intersection there that then decides, and that's just, are you a cunt or not? I think is probably it. Anyway, next subject. I think we've already got to move on.
Move on. Although the next subject is kind of similar.
I suppose we'll probably find a way back into that, but yeah. I'll start the timer. I actually remembered to start on this one. I was a bit late on the first subject, but I got to pour my next Guinness. This is a bit of an operation, so maybe you just.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, this was a small article from today, but I thought it would be good to talk about comedy and cancel culture. I mean, because what the news was that John Cleese, who is 82, so I'm not normally one for sort of, and I'm not going to slag him off because he's 82, and I think but he said some tasteless comments, which I read and thought were fine, were basically fine. But he was, this was all in the papers this morning, that he had basically said that Britain, if you're going to pay slavery reparations, Britain should be given some from someone because of the 1066, and then I don't know, the Normans or whatever.
The Romans, it was the Romans.
Romans or whatever.
The Italians and the French, because of
Yeah, so a stupid comment on stage from an 82-year-old comedian, but it did interest me because at the moment
it was in America. That's why the reaction was so.
That's why he said it probably as well.
But yeah, and that.
Yeah, it occurred to me. But what I thought was interesting was, Fawlty Towers is not on TV anymore. And I'm actually teaching a course on comedy at the moment, and I showed a film to it's just at a local cinema. It's not. It's like a film club. It's not like an academic course. Last week we watched a Woody Allen film, and a lot of people were saying that they considered Woody Allen basically cancelled almost, and didn't want to sort of enjoy, or couldn't really enjoy his films anymore because of that. Obviously, we've seen it in comedy quite often with Louis C.K., other kind of cancellations around comedy. And I do think this is a really important topic, and I think basically the question is, is it right that basically comedians and comedy is taken off air because it's now sort of considered distasteful or doesn't sort of stand the woke test?
I don't know, because then it'd be like, shall we? Because everyone's quite against like burning books, for example. You can't get rid of the books. You can't censor books. That's wrong. And I don't know, maybe surely at that point you'd say, well, the Bible's got some distasteful things in it. Better get rid of all that as well.
I mean, people don't say that about comedy.
No, exactly. So
yeah,
just leave it. I'm not. I mean, I guess then it's like, well, are you saying that Fawlty Towers is as sacred as the Bible? And to some, it probably fucking is. But to me, I don't give a shit. I just am quite against censorship of media. Because it usually who's mandating or dictating it or manipulating the viewpoint that something should be censored, likely a government or a corporate sort of or there's a corporate interest, or it's just fucking morons who they just play into the bigger narrative of not exposing yourself to things that you possibly don't like or don't agree with.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think this probably won't be a controversial conversation because we agree, but I think that there is something. I mean, like, I don't think Fawlty Towers is that funny, but I do think Woody Allen films are. And for example, there's a I love Peter Sellers. There's a film called The Party where Peter Sellers is in blackface at a party, and he's like he does this in an Indian accent. This just would never be screened in today's culture, but it's in some, you could say the film was racist. You certainly could, or you could also, but I still don't think it should be taken out of circulation.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to stop. Well, no, it's not like I do watch them very much, but I'm still able to, if I really wanted to, I could watch something with Kevin Spacey in it. I could watch that, but probably.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah. I'm sure I haven't.
I haven't had to because he's not been in anything for years, and I've kind of watched everything of interest to me. So I don't
trying to think whether I have watched anything, but I'm sure I have or would. Yeah.
I'm trying to weekly, people I know put on their Instagram stories pictures of Cristiano Ronaldo celebrating, and I see that, and I think that man is a rapist, and he's on your story. And
I do think that every time I see Cristiano Ronaldo, and I would say there's a bit of a difference, I think.
It is different. It's less of a, because racism is like this thing that culturally we kind of believe in the Western world. I don't want to use that term because it's kind of silly, but we believe to have eradicated. We haven't at all. But there's this belief. So it's like culturally we've moved on, especially culturally in terms of media output or something. We think we've eradicated
I suppose so. I mean, you're right that's there. It's definitely interesting that, because on the one hand we know that we haven't eradicated racism at all, and that it's in some ways worse than ever.
And for some reason we think that doing
we act as if we have
that will also eradicate it. I also think
that's interesting. But the other thing I think,
a big part of the problem is Americans again. A big part of the problem is Americans. I don't believe that as many British people hold stupid fucking opinions on that kind of thing as Americans. I really don't.
On what sort of opinions? What do you mean?
Like, I don't know, wanting to get rid of certain things on the TV and certain films that shouldn't be watched. I think it's more going to be Americans than it is anyone in England or anyone in Europe. I think it's Americans more than it is Europeans.
Interesting. Okay, I definitely don't think it's Europeans. I think British people do it. I was thinking there when you were saying that of Brass Eye, in 2001 they did that episode called Petergeddon. I don't know if you've ever seen this.
Oh, I suppose if you galvanize them, if you galvanize the British in a certain way, they get quite weird. Right.
But this, I love Petergeddon. I think it's
really funny. It's like
brilliant.
Put a child on the rocket ship. This is the last thing we wanted to happen.
But and I think it's a masterpiece. But and I don't think it's in any way pro pedophiles, but it got people's backs up. It certainly did. But anyway, and I was going to say one thing quickly about Ronaldo as well, and then maybe come back to comedy, because I think comedy's a bit different. Like I see what you mean, but like with Ronaldo, like you don't have to share, because I agree with you. When I see the gifs, I think he is a rapist though, and I think you could just you can still support Man United. You can still enjoy the match. You don't have to go that extra step, I think, of isolating him as a hero. If some people honestly don't know. I've had conversations with people recently saying that, and they haven't got a clue that Ronaldo's a basically definite rapist. Yeah. But if you know that, I think, try to stop short of actually celebrating the individual. Still watch United, but don't say how awesome was Ronaldo. And I would say the same about, Woody Allen film or whatever.
You could still say, yeah, Cristiano Ronaldo is the best football player alive. You could still say that. Wouldn't say he's the best bloke alive. I wouldn't say that.
No.
Just feel like he's
good. But wouldn't it be the same for Kevin Spacey in that sense? Like, by all means, watch American Beauty. But no need to share a picture of him and say how awesome he is. Yeah.
He's a really, really good actor, but he's also a fucking asshole. So
yeah. So I think, but with comedy, I tell you what I think is more interesting, maybe. I think there's something to do with laughter that makes people complicit or feel complicit. So like when you laugh at stuff, because when you watch a film, if somebody's racist in it, you're not thinking, yeah, I agree. But when you laugh, you're sort of implicating yourself.
You're forgiving it.
Yeah. So that's maybe why people are uncomfortable. And I was thinking about that. I don't think there's been any really good comedy since maybe Four Lions. And I actually think, I actually think people are so, to write good comedy, you have to be close to the edge, close to the bone. You have to be able to not self-censor.
Has to be incisive and make some kind of a statement. And I think, I don't know, in terms of comedy TV show, I still defend It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, because they actually, I guess now the subjects they're not quite so broad. It's not like we're challenging racism in a whole episode, because they've been around for like years. So the subjects now are much more specific that they challenge, but they used to, their very first episode challenged racism, and it's really funny, and it's really It's very awkward because of the way they do it. Because they're three white dudes who are writing it, and then they have a white woman in the cast with them. So they're all white, but they're really aware of it in the correct way.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's not a bad example. And, I don't know when that started. But okay, 2005.
Yeah.
So, I would say, and I think,
they still do well.
My question to you,
so.
I know, but what they do today is on the back of success that was already built. They now have confidence and security. They can do that. They're already extremely famous.
Well,
let me make my point quickly. Hang on. My question to you is, if I'm in Four Lions is 2010, what I'm saying is, what my question is are people so worried about cancellation that they don't make good, edgy comedy now? Post, say, 2010.
I'm trying to think what the last film I really laughed at a lot is. What is the last film I really laughed at? I actually was something recent. I remember thinking to myself, man, I've not laughed at something in quite a while. But then it might have just been because I was rewatching something. Four Lions, though, isn't something that was like a big risk because it was Brass Eye guy. He was already.
That's true. That's true. That shouldn't be the litmus test,
I mean, here's the thing: Don't Look Up comes out, and people think, "Oh yeah, comedy."
No, it's not a comedy.
That's the thing. People will think, "Oh, it's clever and so smart."
It was shit, and it wasn't a comedy. But we listeners can go to episode 2, is it, and find out what we really think about it.
I think so. I'm looking at the films I've watched, and in terms of comedy, I watched Borat 2, and that was less edgy than Borat 1. Some of it was possibly more edgy because I was sort of like, man, how are you getting away with this right now? But
I think this point is right, that and also, quick addition, I did read a good book by Ben Burgess. I recommend it to people. It's called Cancelling Comedians While the World Burns. You only really need the title, but complaining about John Cleese or taking Peter Sellers' movie.
Man, you can't. He's gonna die in a few years, and you're gonna have to live out the rest of your miserable fucking life in a pod eating bugs. Fuck you. All right. Why are you wasting a life on this?
Pay attention to something else. But I do. But I don't know if I quite agree with myself actually, because I do think comedy can be like powerful and change things. And I think that okay, I would rather we had fascist comedy and revolutionary socialist comedy than just boring liberal comedy like we have right now.
Liberal comedy,
yeah. Because I think it is a powerful tool and can be part of building new communities and challenging ideas and stuff like that. And it can have a positive, genuine impact on the world. But if you cancel all the comedians that you find distasteful, comedy can no longer do that. It just ends up being, you can only make jokes about accepted things, and it doesn't do anything. It just becomes a bit of fun at best, and doesn't have that radical potential for good or bad. And that's bad, everybody. That's bad.
That is bad. I just got a text from I've had a text today from my GP in England saying that I need to get my vaccine, and also the NHS saying that I need to get my vaccine. I do have it, but I got it here. I got my second one here. So, and I haven't bothered to contact them because I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to waste my time on that. It's not man. I just wait. They can keep sending me texts. I don't care. Definitely some more stuff to say about cancelling. I just realized loads of left, and I needed to drink a bunch of it. And Guinness is heavy, stout, and
do you know Guinness?
He was a eugenics guy, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's it. There's something about him. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a eugenics type of fella. I think he was a big deal in one of the sort of societies for that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think so too. And he's done weird things, like establish a kind of, Guinness has like some weird like funding pools and stuff which are like licensed to, and even some buildings which are like licensed until like 2200, the year 2200, and there's like some weird legacy of Guinness.
That's funny though. I like stuff like that because like, I'll be dead, but Guinness won't be.
No, it'll still be there.
Yeah. Cancelling. Yeah. I also don't think though that cancelling is real or works.
It does. It does. I think
it doesn't do anything.
the opposite. It has the opposite effect, doesn't it? It adds to
and I think that people who go after every day, just sort of people on the street, to try and cancel them because.
Yeah. I totally agree.
I mean, obviously, if they were hugely racist and you've got a video of it, then yeah, show it to the police and get them prosecuted. But then I think there's a lot of I don't know, people just taking the law into their own hands in a way that I'm like, this is kind of dodgy territory here, guys. I don't know if you're, and I guess that's the thing is when people on the internet are, they direct themselves aggressively at somebody who did something that they've decided is racist, but then some people would argue, I don't know if that was, I don't think that's what they were doing. I don't you see that as much anymore as years ago. People have sort of stopped with it, but there was a very strange one of of some woman and the humongous guy, and I don't know, she got into some altercation. I think it was in 2016 or something, some weird thing, and he was just some guy, and she was this British feminist type, and that feminism then has a bad name now because of people like that, the same way the left wing have a bad name because of people like that. But so what's your name? And he just said humongous or some shit, like as a joke, because and for some reason, I don't know about it. Thought it was referring to his dick or something, and he was just really confused, and she was just chastising him and following him, and she was filming him as if she was in the right, and everyone on the internet turned against her, like, what the fuck are you talking about? You're wrong. Yeah,
that would be good for a documentary. I mean, definitely. I mean,
he was fine in the end because he was defended by lots and lots, big sort of YouTube types who are like, no, leave this guy alone. He's just a guy. He's just some American guy on the street who just works a normal job. Leave him alone. So there was some, I guess, mob justice there, but that's the thing. Mob justice so easily goes the wrong way.
Well, that's the thing. It's all of that comes from the fact that, I mean, we've zoomed out quite far here, but all of that comes from the fact that the law and the police do not prosecute things that they should. So people have no choice but to create.
I was going to get back to that because I was going to say, well, because people don't trust the law to actually do things. Because I was going to say, I'm not someone who's really like, oh, well, you got to listen to the law, guys. The law is always on your side and is always right.
No,
definitely not.
The law is usually wrong, and
that doesn't mean that the right thing. Yeah, I don't think that I'm not someone that believes in like abolishing the police, because if it's like if you did that and the police were gone overnight, I just think lots of people would be hurt and it'd be bad on that one.
I'm just having a look at this humongous thing. I mean, it is absolutely, and it really reminds me. I was recently reading. I just interviewed this author. It's a really amazing book actually. It's called What Do Men Want, and it's by Nina Power, who also was kind of cancelled for like not really doing anything, just like going on a podcast with someone who some morons on the left thought were right wing, but really weren't. Anyway, the whole book is about the way in which the left has become punitive and just punishes people, especially men, for things that are completely lacking in solidarity and unhelpful. Like, I mean, this humongous thing is a brilliant example. Like making the joke humongous. Sure, it's not funny.
No,
and sure, ultimately, there probably is a kind of patriarchy implicit in the fact that this joke even exists. But it's hardly this guy's fault. He's just making a little joke. And then to raise that as a sexual harassment issue, pursue it, there is something here that this is where, the left, let's say, or social justice, as we're talking about it, mob justice, social justice, whatever, that this is where it's gone wrong. It's gone after extremely small things instead of, focusing on bigger issues.
And I think that is the end of that subject now.
That's
it is.
And not just because of the timer, because there's no coming back from that point, everybody.
That's it now. So
that's it. Problem solved. The punitive left is dead.
Well, here we are at the third bit, which is the game bit. See, there's no like St. Patrick's Day solidarity here from you because you're drinking fucking Nigerian beer. I'm the one suffering through all these Guinnesses. I should have just bought the Jameson. I should have just had Irish whiskey.
No one suffers through a Guinness. No, I was just
No,
going to say about that book. I seriously recommend that book. Actually, it's kind of like the anti-Jordan Peterson, I'd say, because it's a it's about men and the problems with them, and it's very nice to men, but not in the horrible JP way. So read that, everybody. What Do Men Want by Nina Power. And I'll tell you one of the things men want, and that is video games.
Yep. What was I going to say? You just made me think of something. The book. Yeah, I might actually get it.
Yeah,
that was what I was going to say. Because at the moment I'm reading a book called, I have been reading a book called Prisoners of Geography, which is interesting. It's just a geopolitics book. And it was very interesting because I happened to be reading about Russia and I read about Russia just before the Ukraine tension started to flare, and then here we are. So I immediately understood a lot of Russia's motivations because I was like, I just read about them. I know what they're up to there. I get it. I understand. I don't think it's good. I mean, I just literally understand their motivations.
Yeah, that sounds good. Might read that myself.
Yeah. Oh no, I could explain their motivation. Sorry, I don't want to say I understand because it sounds like I'm like, I get it. It's a difficult one that with English, the double meaning of understand. And what it is.
No, I see what you mean. Yeah, no, because you mean you could mean you empathize.
Yeah, which I don't.
No, yeah.
I can't empathize with an entire nation, first of all, and its and its leaders' aspirations.
Well, I think that's correct. Correct not to. Anyway, yeah. So this is the sort of free section, and then we go back where we talk about video games, and then we do the last drink over the last topic. So I haven't really, I have been playing video games, but I don't have anything sort of new to say, apart from I'm playing that Oddworld collection. And I do find it the most, Oddworld, especially new and tasty, I find it the most interesting Marxist.
You carry on for a minute, hang on.
Spilt Guinness on himself.
These fucking Guinnesses are so annoying to pour.
Right, I'm on my own. No, I've got this. Don't worry. I think it's my favourite sort of. I think it's the only game with a proper good Marxist storyline, and I also think that video games. I've said many times, like games often have like left wing or Marxist storylines, but the gameplay is terrible. And I'm one of those gamers, probably because of a bit of ADHD or whatever, who skips most cutscenes and doesn't read most of the sort of optional stuff. But Oddworld, especially new and tasty, it's like the only one where I do actually really care about the story and find it like properly sort of engaging and like engrossing. Is that a word? That's not a word, but anyway, it is now. And so basically I'm coming to my conclusion anyway, Ruben. So you're coming at the right time, which is that basically Oddworld it's the only game which I think has a compelling story that is genuinely kind of socialist or whatever at its core. And I don't normally even like storytelling based games. I prefer the gameplay, but the story is just brilliant, and it really is a good metaphor for sort of capitalist exploitation and how you're a monster who's treated like canned goods. It's brilliant.
Interesting because a lot of games and a lot of films, they all have the hero, the guy that stands up for who stands up against the bad thing, which is oppressing everybody. But they often do it in such a way that they probably end up celebrating individuality in the wrong way, or in a way that just ends up reinforcing the supposed villains. Or they just do nothing, or it's just that. It's just an innocuous hero story that does nothing and says nothing and stands for nothing and will be forgotten about. For example, every Far Cry game has this weird revolution arc to them. It's about
or Just Cause.
Just Cause is actually fun. That's the difference. That's actually fun.
But Just Cause, I think, is a good example of a game where it's presents itself. The basic story is like anti-capital, revolutionary, destroy the value of building.
South America. So we're South America. That's
but the pleasure of the game is basically in blowing shit up.
Yeah, which is great because the game has no story in it, and it has a story in that it has loose plot points.
And I suppose this again goes to what we were talking about with the what I'd say with the comedian, I don't know if you feel this about games. Let me try this on you. Like, what I think is true of the comedians, that comedy has kind of lost its radical edge, and I think this is also true of games. I think that games in the last 10 years think they've become really woke and feminist and anti-racist and stuff, and they've actually got less so.
You know, because it's like the American liberal middle of the road crap.
There is this certain American liberal kind of, something like Cyberpunk or Watch Dogs or Overwatch, which is celebrated for this kind of representation, diversity, or these narratives of sort of anti-capitalism. But actually, if you look at like the gameplay and the aesthetic of something like Jet Set Radio from like, say, around 2000, that's way more radical and way more socialist than and the gameplay of it too, and the way it represents the city and stuff. I think that games think they've become more liberal and woke and interesting, but they've actually become much less interesting and much less.
The other thing is that even games which historically or series historically which weren't ever trying to be that, they were just you play as a character, you do this, you feel empowered, it's fun. There's good feedback. You have a good time. Now are trying to put things like that into the games. Which just sort of inhibit the main thing they were going for, which was just you're going to have fun and be the hero, and everyone's going to have a great time, and you're going to buy the next one. You're going to buy the DLC, and you're going to buy a T-shirt. It's gone beyond that. And I'm fine with the transparent. Like, it's just shallow nonsense, and you're the hero.
Exactly. There's nothing wrong with shooting someone's head off with a sniper rifle. You don't have to be told that there's a good reason to do that.
And you don't have to be told that. I think there's something at the moment which Halo fans are kind of embarrassing, but I like Halo. The Halo TV show that's coming out has the Master Chief is in it. It's set in an alternate universe because they knew the Halo fan. It would just be confusing to try and fit it in with the Halo game story. So it's just an alternate universe where it's all more or less the same, but just a different timeline. So it doesn't intersect. I guess it has a common start ground and then whatever. The Master Chief is meant to be, he's the guy. He's the Halo guy. He's the best Spartan. He leads the Spartans. He's tough and strong, and he's not afraid of anything. He doesn't afraid of anything is the joke thing. But he's with the trailer. I think he's bested by another Spartan, just this woman Spartan as well, by chance. And it's not by chance. It's like, they get the female Spartan. And the trouble is, I don't want to be cynical about it, because it's like, if there was a female Spartan who was like stronger than the Chief, I wouldn't care that they're female. But I know that the only reason, or I'm suspicious, or I suspect the only reason you've had a female Spartan put Chief on his ass is to make some kind of embarrassing American liberal point that just then reinforces the people who are suspicious or have gone beyond suspicion and are now on the Jordan Peterson side of things to say, well, look what they're doing to my video game TV show. It was never going to be a good TV show.
I think for me that there's something, and it's like, I understand that in our culture, there's almost like, I feel, I shouldn't even say this, to be honest. I might just cancel it before I finish saying it. But
you can do that. You can back it anytime.
No, do you know what I was going to do? I was going to say, I was going to qualify my comment by saying I understand that I'm a white male in a position of privilege. And then I thought, do you know what? It's pissed me off that you have to do that all the time.
Don't even qualify it. Fuck it. That should be just a disclaimer.
I don't agree with having to qualify all statements by saying things.
From this point,
it's still fine for me to have a view. Actually, I've now done even worse. I've now said an even worse thing than what I was about to say, which is... But my point was just going to be that I personally think, and I'm sure my view is not important, but I personally think this is worse than not doing it. So, like, when these kind of games will have a superficial trans character or something, I think, or they'll just say, that I've seen some games where at the loading screen it says male, female, non-binary, and then you click on whatever, and makes no difference whatsoever.
I've also seen that now they do body type. They just do that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I saw
Destiny does that, I think.
Yeah, so I get what they're trying to do with that, but in a way, if that is your approach to tackling this problem, you're almost doing more harm than good, I think, because I don't know, these things need to be thought about in a much more deeper way than this kind of symbolism. And the fact that we are in a culture of this kind of symbolism, like it connects to everything. Like, to be honest, everything we've been talking about today, like right through to, like, you know, Nike supporting Black Lives Matter that we talked about a few weeks ago. Like, we live in a culture of symbolism, and these gestures are worse than nothing, in my opinion. They're not a good start.
No,
they're less than nothing.
Because it's so I'm trying to think. It's just meaningless, and like I said, it usually just plays into making people who are, I guess, going down the more extreme routes that I'm just referring to as like the Jordan Peterson thing, because it's just, you know what I mean, and anyone who's been listening to us from the start know what I mean by that. Hopefully, because again, I'm not like anti Jordan Peterson. I don't really care, but you know what? Yeah, that's my point. It just puts them further down that route, and because I'm someone that's I'm sort of on the side of, well, you know, I can be exposed to Jordan Peterson, but I can also be exposed to the fucking opposite, and I don't feel like I've got to be like tribalistic about it. I don't care. This has nothing to do with video games. Nothing to do with video games at this point.
No, it's not really, but it's, you know, yeah. No, but it's part of our analysis of contemporary culture, I suppose.
I'm trying, but maybe I'll try and think of a video game that I have played that I think has some kind of socialist message, but I can't think of one, because they're all very either a celebration of capitalism or some kind of like libertarianism, individualism thing.
Yeah, no, I think that's what I like about Oddworld and
Mass Effect 3. Mass Effect 3. Commander Shepard.
Yeah, right.
Commander Shepard unites the entire galaxy against a common enemy.
But that's
entire galaxy. Maybe. Well, I don't know, because it's not a celebration of
against the common enemy, because
it's always a common enemy there. That's the trouble, isn't it?
That's the common enemy means it basically is. Yeah, structurally speaking. Yeah, you need that. That's like Independence Day, isn't it? You know, like, you know, once you've got that enemy of the aliens, then there's no reason to be, you know, Will Smith can easily get on with whoever it is he wasn't getting on with at the start of that film. You know, as long as you've got that thing to hate, that other to hate.
Well, look at Turkey and Greece now agreeing to put
aside
their differences. I made the article relevant. I did it.
That's a very good point.
All they needed was Putin to fucking, you know, get them to be like, oh, fuck it.
That's the bit.
I think so bad.
That's the clip for the trailer, the bit that goes from Independence Day to that, because that, or maybe this because, yeah, you know, that's exactly, isn't it? The news article saying finally Turkey and Greece are settling their differences to help Ukraine. It's like, bloody hell, we are such a stupid culture that we can settle all differences as long as there's another enemy to hate, like as long as there's this other kind of other alien thing. Yeah, that's the structure of our society, and we've nailed that. But video games, come on now.
So I'm playing Elden Ring.
More about video games.
I've been playing Elden Ring more, and I think it's really, really fucking good.
Well, I think I haven't played it, but I think people are interested in it and I want to play it too. So just tell us what is good.
So you take Dark Souls 3, which had really good gameplay. It didn't have such good world design, I guess, because people really liked Dark Souls 1 because it had this feeling of the whole world was linked and connected, and you'd always go through an area and then you'd get a shortcut and you'd be like, oh fuck, that takes me to here. Oh, that's crazy. Dark Souls 3 didn't have that so much because of its much bigger world. But Elden Ring manages to find a way around that by having an open world. So it can't be that way, and it is just neat to see where you end up, or to ride over here, and oh, this tunnel takes me here. Oh, okay, nice. And also you can jump, and there's a horse, which is cool. I saw a tweet which kind of summed it up, and it's, you know, I'm worried that game developers will be inspired by Elden Ring to make games harder. But I think what they really need to do is just give their horses a double jump, because the horse is a double jump in Elden Ring. I thought that sounded really funny. Yeah.
So it's good.
I
do want to play. Yeah, of course. I just haven't quite got time. I've just got a few games I need to finish up first.
And that, and then I've been playing Destiny 2 again because I've got people that play it.
But I mean, I play games
crap
quite.
game.
I play them. I do play a lot, but I play it full. I finished them. So, you know, we talked about games. I'm conscious. The games I'm playing now is the same I mentioned last week and the week before. I finished the Pokemon one now, but I'm still playing those other games, Oddworld and Oli Oli. But like, because I do like playing. You know, I'll play a few things at once, but I won't give up until I've finished it. So it'll probably be 2 weeks before I try a new game.
Well, I've got sort of 3 games on the go at the moment. I've been playing Valheim as well.
Is that any good?
It's reasonably fun, but it's best played with somebody, and otherwise it's probably not very fun, to be honest with you. But the game is nice. It has a coziness to it for sure, and I kind of like that about it. And it's quite pretty in the way it's with its art style. So yeah, I think I quite like it. And then Destiny 2 is just kind of like mindless crap. And then Elden Ring is my good game that I'm playing. You know, that's how I'm describing it.
You've been playing Destiny 2 for quite some time.
We're actually coming up on its 5th year. This year.
I don't think I've ever played a game for 5 years.
And
oh yeah, well, Football Manager. But
Destiny 1 came out in 2014. So, and really those 2 games are not so much the same. It's just that, you know, it's one series, and I think it counts because of the live service thing. And honestly, I don't imagine Bungie would have even released a Destiny 2 if not for the Activision who said, no, you have to release a numbered sequel because it's statistically proven numbered sequels sell better. So, you know, you have to do that.
That's interesting. I wouldn't have thought that.
Yeah.
Have you?
So it's more like 8 years nearly.
What have you played or engaged at all with Life is Strange, the series Life is Strange?
No, because I think it looks fucking shit.
Well, I played the first one and I thought it had an excellent story, but bad gameplay. But a friend of mine and listener and regular listener to our podcast, so that, well, or at least pretends to be, so I'll know if they don't mention this.
I saw Marion subscribed. So,
all right. Well, it's not her.
Bit late.
But other friends, mate. Got more than one friend, right?
I've got no friends. None of my friends are subbed. None of them.
Some of mine are a lot. I noticed we lost and gained a few patrons. Come back, patrons. What happened to you? Come back. What did we do wrong? Come and tell us what we did wrong. We'll make it up.
You could have requested a new game. You could have requested a new game.
And patrons state, because we'll have a patrons episode in a minute as well. So anyway, no, what we're saying is, yes, she's working on Life is Strange, the whole series. I've not played 2 and 3, and I suspect that they are brilliant storytelling games, but shit gameplay. And this is also what I wanted to say again about Oddworld, and just ask, are there any games which are both? Like, there are so few games. Like, if there's a good story, this is forgetting politics. Put politics aside. If there's a good story, the gameplay shit. Maybe Last of Us.
It's a tough one. Well, no, because The Last of Us doesn't do
the story shit. Yeah, the story shit.
Because the story is very middle. That's the thing. A lot of people praise The Last of Us for its good story. It's a well presented story in terms of cinematic conventions. You watch it. Oh, okay. Yeah. This is a bit out. You know, it's different for games because they usually look shit, or that's how most people perceive it. But I think the gameplay is where The Last of Us excels. When I like the combat of The Last of Us quite a lot. I liked the stealth. I like the collecting. I like the quiet moments where you just walk around. I liked that about The Last of Us more than I did the cutscenes, because the story is just typical. It's fine. It's not bad. It's just typical. And then I think something like
that's totally correct.
Halo 3, for example, is a game that actually I think has quite, the story there is well presented. It's a very simple story about just like hero saves the world, whatever. Fine, but it's just presented well. It's just the cutscenes there are quite attractive considering it's a game that came out in 2007. I'm having deja vu right now. This is very strange.
What? I love deja vu.
Just
it's probably because we're so boring.
I noticed it in the middle of it, and I was just thinking,
that happens to every deja vu.
Yeah, I noticed it in the
Yeah.
middle, and I was like, "This
Half
is
of
going to
it,
end soon, right? This is going to end soon, isn't it?" And it's not ending.
yes.
Okay,
That's every deja vu. The realization happens in the middle. That's factually correct. Isn't
it was like a speed ramp that goes up like this, where I was like, okay, oh, definitely deja vu. Yeah. What's our fourth subject? Because I could easily talk about games for long.
Oh, right. Well, we ran out of time already.
No, we have, but it's the last subject's a bit shit. So,
oh well, let's do the last subject for 10 minutes and talk a bit more about games first. But I mean, I think okay. I tell you what, no, let's move on. We can always come back to the games because the last subject, I don't really want to talk about it for long, but I feel like it might lead back into all this stuff anyway. Like, it's just that news story about the fact that Grimes was dating Chelsea Manning. I
didn't
just
know that.
thought, yeah. Well, I mean, and our other friends who do a podcast tweeted about it. That's, I think, where I first saw it. And no, it wasn't. It was where I second saw it. But you know, but people reacted like really interestingly to it. It was like reality was collapsing because Grimes was dating Chelsea Manning, and it was like,
to be honest. Are you actually on your fourth beer?
No.
How many have you had?
No, yeah, no. Look, I mean, I'm going to be.
I'm just making sure because I don't want to be slamming through Guinnesses if you're not also doing.
Look, I'm on my third beer, but I'm not finished.
Well, I'll wait a second till you finish yours before I drink my next one.
The proof. I've shown you the proof.
All right.
Was I behaving too rationally or something?
I don't know. I just thought, I don't know. I've not seen him actually pick up that many beers. Maybe he's not doing it. Maybe he's being a bit slack because they're big bottles.
They are. To be honest, give me a break, bloody hell. They are big, aren't they?
Is it 660 ml or is it 600?
I don't know.
Or maybe 620.
They don't say. Do you want to shout out other numbers that might be?
What do they do on the neck? Does the neck not say it? No, it doesn't. What does the...
It just says shine, Bobo, mate. I think that's all you need to know. It doesn't even say the alcohol content. Just need... Oh, no, it does. 5.1. 60 centiliters. There you go. 600.
Okay, 600. All right.
There you go. Not that bad. And it tastes good. And it's shine, Bobo. So that's all you need to know about this bit.
Guinness just has a little pretentious crap. Yeah. All right. Where are we? Chelsea Manning. I didn't know that. All I saw was that she was having another child of Elon Musk.
What? No. Oh, Grimes. Right. Yeah. Have they got a child? No, they haven't got a child.
Yeah, they got a kid.
What? They're only going out for a week, weren't they?
Elon Musk and Grimes. Yeah, they got a kid. The kid's got some weird fucking name. Yeah, right. It was like a joke for a bit. I didn't want to get into it because
I remember it now.
And they've got another one though. They've got another one, I think, as well. There's a second kid.
Well, this interview was about how cool Elon Musk was, even though they're semi separated, but also that she was dating Chelsea Manning. Anyway, I don't even know if this is true. The point doesn't really matter if this is true. But what was really interesting to me is how people seem to react to this story, like reality had suddenly sort of slipped. And I did too. When I saw that, I thought, no way. Like Elon Musk going out with Grimes, it made sense. Like two quirky celebrity types who, the celebrities always date each other, but also, tech bro and like edgy musician. It makes a certain sense, and it shows how the edgy musicians aren't as edgy as they think, and whatever. But this one, because I do think of Chelsea Manning as kind of a hero, and more so than Edward Snowden even, and not as much as Julian Assange, so somewhere between Snowden and Assange. I actually messaged Chelsea Manning on Twitter, not that I would expect a reply, and I didn't get one, asking if she would come and do the Popular show when we were doing that, and to no reply, because she was a big player of Stardew Valley. So there you go. This is where this goes. She said a lot about Stardew Valley. You've got a real axe
to grind, haven't you, with that game?
And I thought let's talk to Chelsea Manning. Oh yeah, and also it's her birthday at the same time as mine. So I messaged saying I've just checked out my message because I thought, although I've got no right to expect a reply from someone as cool and important as Chelsea Manning, like we turned 33 on the same day, and I messaged saying, or the same week, and I messaged saying, I wanted to, and she was tweeting about Stardew Valley, and I thought, yeah, this is my chance to talk to Chelsea Manning. Anyway, she didn't reply, which is perfectly fine. But I've always thought of her as someone who, yeah. So whereas this, when I saw this, Grimes, not that Grimes is I like Grimes. It's not like I think that's like a black mark or something. It's just that then just to be in any queue behind Elon Musk is weird, and it made me wonder whether people that we look up to, like Chelsea Manning, could just be celebrities like everyone else and not people we should look up to. I suppose that's what it is.
Maybe just having any form of Twitter following or any form of renown that gets you in the news for any reason turns you into a cunt. Maybe any large following above a certain number turns you into a cunt.
Maybe. I mean, it's certainly you can sort of see it. You can sort of see. I mean, although people always think of Assange, I suppose Manning, Assange, and Snowden just sort of belong together in a conversation. Like people always think of Assange as the egotistical one, and I think not. I think like when you see Edward Snowden on stuff, I think ego's huge, and actually by working for NSA in the first place, you thought you were special, and you still do in a different way. I don't know how he's affected by the Russia thing. Presumably they're still protecting him. But with Assange and with Manning, I always thought something else. That, maybe. I suppose you could make the same case for Manning, couldn't you, with defectors? Although, you know, the fact that you went into the US Army and wanted to be in the US Army in the first place maybe indicates a certain egoism.
Maybe, yeah. But I think at that point, that's not even fair to get so analytical about those kinds of choices that people make.
But I wouldn't be going out with Grimes if I was Chelsea Manning.
Yeah, that I wouldn't do.
I just wouldn't do that.
I find Grimes really annoying anyway. So, yeah. I'm not a Grimes fan at all. In fact, I find him really annoying.
I don't like the music.
There are so many. I was going to say that the thing that you were talking about, it just made me think of if I have my phone with me and I'm on the toilet. There are so many articles or things I'll see that just make me want to like scream. You know, I'm just so like, just leave me alone. Fucking leave me alone is what I want to like yell and start hitting people. I don't want to know about certain things, or I can't get away from just crap that I don't want to fucking hear about. And I know it's algorithmic. It's not. I feel the algorithm is trying to dictate to me what I want, but it's not really getting it right. I want to be left the fuck alone. I don't want to hear about what. I don't know, let's think. I don't want to hear about what some random cunt that plays Apex Legends thinks about the new legend. There's just all this conjecture about stuff that I deem fucking meaningless, or I don't care. Even if I play Apex Legends sometimes, I don't want to hear about it. Would you maybe agree that most of what we say on this podcast is conjecture that our listeners don't want to hear about? No, they're consenting to. We don't push this on anybody. There's no.
I see. So your point is against a targeted curation.
Yeah, because we don't push this shit on anybody. We leave people alone. I mean, they come to us. I mean, maybe the algorithm pushes it. To us. The algorithm maybe does a bit of work, but it's not on YouTube. It's not really the same, and on Twitter, it's not really the same as it is with other stuff at all.
No, it's true. It's true. No, I don't think the algorithms are helping us much, or maybe they are, but we're just.
I don't know. I just want to be left alone.
Just leave us alone. Listeners, please can you just leave us alone?
Please, there are so many of you.
For God's sake.
Will you just autographs, and I can't give an autograph to all of you.
Right then.
I've never been asked to give an autograph.
I've been asked to sign a book, but I did it, but I sort of said, what are you doing that for? I mean, I'm no one. But I signed it.
Yeah.
I wrote a little personal message saying, thank you so much for asking me to sign. I don't know. But I did find it was weird. but that's the closest I've got. And I don't think anyone will ever ask us for our autographs. But patrons will write to you in our own handwriting, just for being a patron. So you should.
Thanks a lot for that. We still got some minutes on this. I mean, I definitely had more to say about video games than I did.
Well, then go back to that. Go back to that then.
Oh, I don't know. I was still trying to think of examples of stories in video games that were socialist and also fun. You know, because a lot of the time when a game tries to make a point about something, for example, Papers, Please, which I've not played, but gameplay wise, I don't know much about that. I don't know. I don't know. But then again, what is good gameplay? What is good gameplay?
Yeah. So I've got a sort of a point on that, and I think that, and this sounds a bit philosophy-y, but I think that the reason we don't find interesting games fun as easily is because we learn how to have fun. We've been trained how to enjoy games. So, like, you know,
the concept of play has been dictated to us by games made by fucking activists.
Exactly,
so Call of Duty is what we understand to be fun.
Yeah. Precisely. So when we shoot, like, because what I would say about games like Papers, Please, or also, let me give a quick list. I'd say to a certain extent Oddworld, which we're talking about, but maybe like games like Dwarf Fortress and Everything, the Chris O'Reilly game, Papers, Please. Like, these games, when you start them, they're clearly sort of socialist or something. Yeah, I'll say that, or something is important. But they are boring when you start, but after hours and hours of getting into it, they become fun. That's what I normally think your experience of playing them is. Whereas when you play like Call of Duty or something, it's instantly fun because you're already pre-trained to enjoy that kind of fun. So yeah, the fact that shooting people in a first-person shooter is fun is not just because that game is fun, but because you've already done the sort of preparatory steps to enjoy that. Same for platformers. You know, it's easy for a 2D side scroller to be fun. That's why there are basically no shit ones. Because as long as you're jumping on someone's head, there's a minimum of pleasure that is yielded. So what we need is not just to make... So the question is, what socialist games that you were asking yourself is the wrong question. It's not like what socialist games... You look like you're falling asleep. This is so dry. The question is not what socialist games are also fun, but how do we like change fun?
And should we? Can you change fun? Can you change it? I mean, you must be able to, because fun must change.
It must change over time. Yeah,
because time changes.
Yeah. So
when I think about the games I found fun when I was a kid, what I started with, my first game was I had a Game Boy Advance, and it was Mario Kart, and I used to play it. I don't think I really liked it, but I used to play it because it was just this thing. I wasn't very good at it, to be honest with you, but I do remember it. And then I had a PS1, and that was where things got a bit better, I guess, because I had Spyro and had this fucking Action Man video game. I Crash Bandicoot, and they had a couple of those. I don't remember what else, but just, you know, that kind of shit, just platformers and baby games, basically. Because I was like 5 or 6. I got on it quite young, you know, compared to quite a lot of people I know. I was on it very young, and I didn't have like an older sibling who had a console. I was the older sibling, and I had cousins and shit. So fun for me progressed, I think, in quite a natural way. I wasn't bored, you know, I wasn't a Fortnite kid, for example, or even a Call of Duty kid. It was a very typical just progression of playing platformers, and then, you know, playing a few other games that maybe felt a bit more mature, like Star Wars Battlefront 2, and then I don't know, I ended up where I ended up. But I can't say there are any that were particularly socialist. I mean, in my early days of playing games, I can't think of any that were communicating a message that I missed either. You know, I don't know.
And nor do I.
I really don't know. That's a tough one.
But my solution to all this problem is that is not to worry about, like, just to make games that you think are interesting, and not to worry whether they're fun or not, because That's fine. And there's nothing wrong with just enjoying. Like, I find it really annoying. I'm sure we talked about this before, but I find it really annoying when people are like, you shouldn't play Grand Theft Auto. And it's like, what are you talking about?
But that is like the Grand Theft Auto issue is a I don't know, it's like a tiny micro sort of organism or microcosm of the whole American liberal boring comedy thing.
Yeah, yes it is. Yes it is.
It's like it is that the GTA thing is in itself a little world of that. You shouldn't play it. Why not? I don't know. If you find it fun, you play it with your friends, or you enjoy the story, you like the open world, or whatever the fuck it is. Yeah, it is also that thing of don't expose. And for what reason shouldn't you play GTA? Because a lot of the reasons these people give are fucking stupid. Because it's never, it's a game which totally glorifies individualism and capitalism or robbing banks. Like I wrote about it in my dissertation, and I pointed out that in the game you rob banks, and it's not like an amazing point, but I don't know, there's an irony there. I guess I felt it was worth mentioning. You rob banks, you steal from capitalism or whatever, and then if you want to have that much money or anywhere near that much money in GTA Online, you have to pay for it via their store, and it's all moderated, and there's no economy there. There's no getting a good deal. Like, I got this many GTA money points, and it was a good deal. There's nothing. You just have to pay 80 quid if you want to have $8 million or whatever it is in the game. That's it. There's nothing else to it. And not a fantastic point that I put in my dissertation, but it was like
I think it's a good point. I think it is a good point, and it is a fantastic point, and yeah, I mean, look, with GTA, I suppose it's capitalist twice, in the ideology of the game.
For sure.
But other games are superficially, socialist or left wing, but on the other level, capitalist or whatever. So it's all quite.
Maybe GTA is more honest in that regard, because it doesn't even pretend to not be. It just presents a story with characters that are quite well written.
That's. I mean, this is a completely unqualified opinion, but I definitely trust somebody who plays GTA more than I trust somebody who plays Overwatch or who plays, maybe even Assassin's Creed, I'd say, because I just don't. I don't think.
Those aren't the best examples, because those games, Overwatch is like dead, and Assassin's Creed is just a single player thing. But if you were talking people who, if you had somebody you knew who you would say politically was on the left and they were anti-GTA, I wouldn't trust them. I wouldn't trust someone that's anti-GTA.
No, I'd go with that.
Yeah, so
don't listen to them unless they're 50 years old and they've got if they're 50 years old and they've got a 13-year-old son they're worried about, it might not be that bad, but they need to just go to Waitrose and get themselves a treat. Otherwise, don't listen to them. And on that note, let's say goodbye to our least favorite listeners and see the most favorite listeners in the Patreon in about 1 minute. Yeah, because I'm going out for a special. I'm going out with my mum tonight on a dim sum cookery class. So we've got half an hour left to record the.
That's fine.
And it was like one of my Christmas presents. Hopefully, keep this in because people will be interested. Next week, if next week I'll report back and I'll make dim sum for the patrons and send it to them. And see them in the page. I'll do anything for a patron.
I've seen videos of dim sum. It doesn't seem that bad making dim sum. It doesn't seem that
it's difficult. The folding techniques, I think.
The folding technique seems like the hard part, because you just kind of pinch, otherwise you just kind of scrunch it. I don't know.
Well, she bought me a voucher for cooking classes, and I was looking for something that I thought, what can't you just sort of teach yourself from a video or whatever? And I think, maybe dim sum, because at least there's a little bit of a different skill involved, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you next week, mate. Anyway, see the patrons soon. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
This album is the best of both worlds.